makeup.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have our next guest joining us today. And yes, Diana is our coach, the coach with the mostest. She's a speaker, author, life coach, and it's all about savoring life with Diana. And that's the website, savorlifewithdiana.com. Hailing from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii, she's here talking to us about the work she's doing, helping you ladies out there, especially when it's your health, you need more happiness in your life, or how to avoid burnout. She's our expert, and we are excited that you are back today. How's everything?
Really exciting. I have a global convention coming up here. I'm part of BNI, and I'm excited. Although the schedule does seem kind of packed, and so I thought I would unpack that today with all of you, talking about when we overfill our calendar and the hidden cost behind that.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, what's BNI? It's Business Networking. What is it?
Business Networking International. It's
Perfect.
an organization with 325,000 members across 78 countries, all about networking and doing it in a way where you're always continually looking for opportunities for others, knowing that being in that environment of giving to others, they in turn will want to give to you as well.
Great. And where is it taking place?
Oh, this global convention is happening in Waikiki.
Oh my goodness. How far away is that from you?
Maybe 20, 30 minutes, but I'm going to stay at the hotel just with my daughter. It makes a little bit more sense for me to be able to give her somewhere that she's comfortable if she wants to take a break in the middle of the day. So.
Oh, wonderful. And hardworking mom bringing the kid to work. We have to do that sometimes. It is what it is, right? And it's a great thing. And I love, there's a lot more businesses out there that are adhering to that, to bring your child to work. And there's a lot of businesses that have like daycare for their, for their employees' kids too. So I honor them because it's hard being a single parent. I'm with you on that. So awesome. Congratulations on this. And I hope you do some great networking. You'll fill us in next week how it goes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about your, the book we could buy, then we'll get to today's topic, but just more, do you have it?
Yeah, I do. Hold on.
I saw you look.
No,
Yay, manifest your dreams. No. Tell us.
Yes. So this is a 15-minute system that I've devised to help people work on their goals and their dreams, and to do it in a way where they're taking these small pockets of time, just 15 minutes a day or 5 minutes to take action, and really seeing major progress on their goals. It's very strategic. We're using a lot of mindset neuroscience and using very little periods of time, but using them in a way that really helps us maximize our impact. And you can find it on Amazon. The easiest way to find it is to search my name, Diana Bejasa, Bejasa. And it's a 3-month journal. Typically, my clients, when they use it, within a week, they're feeling different. And within a month, they're seeing their results shift.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here. And I know you want to discuss a little today about a little secret behind ambitious women's failure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amazing. You can be so ambitious, but sometimes things don't go so well. So we're going to get into this and talk a little bit why a lot of overambitious women or ambitious women like myself overfills that calendar and then gets what? Gets nothing done. How does that happen? Explain this concept to us. This is our episode 13. Holy cow. I can't believe it. And again, congratulations on being our professional of the year. I didn't even do that yet. So hi, thank you. All right, Diana. Diana Bejasa, the Burn Through Catalyst speaker. I love it. Tell us what we have in store for today.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, Jill, but when I think about a packed schedule, I think about when I was working as a chef in San Francisco, and I was planning my wedding in New Orleans, and I had everything planned to the 15-minute. And there was a part of me that took a rush out of that. I was like, yes, and I was able to fit all these pieces together and make this cohesive schedule.
Yep.
And it felt really productive, but at the same time, I didn't even build in a break for a pee.
Nope.
And
I get it.
I share that because sometimes we pride ourselves on these packed schedules But then we find ourselves burned out or frustrated or realizing, okay, we got all these things done, but we don't actually have any of the peace or the fulfillment afterwards. And I want to talk about how can it be that our schedule is so full, but we still feel so empty? Yeah, I want to talk about why ambitious women overfill their schedule and how that can actually be a secret behind their failure.
Overdoing it, over. Let's go. Break it down for us. What are we doing wrong or lacking?
I think that we want to peel back the layers and really understand why it is that we do this. Because the thing is that there's a thrill that comes from it. There's this thrill that comes from, putting all the pieces together in this way where they all fit. I think about my own, when I was planning my wedding in New Orleans and I was coming from San Francisco. So I just had a few days and there were so many venues to visit. And I mapped out like, okay, it's going to take 45 minutes to get from here to there. So I had everything dialed into the 15-minute. And there's something about that feels really satisfying. But at the same time, I didn't even build in breaks for pee. Like, there's no time to go to the bathroom in this time and I think that a lot of times, many times the reason that we're doing that is because we actually feel so empty. So we overfill our schedule to make up for the emptiness that we have, to drown out that voice that says that we're somehow not enough.
I don't know, not enough. Okay. All right.
Well, if you think about it, how many times is it that we've heard the saying that like, oh, you have to work twice as hard, you have to be twice as good just to compete on the same playing field. I think that, a lot of times we internalize that to mean like, okay, I've got to be constantly busy. I've always got to be doing something or somehow I'm not enough. And I think that a lot of times we get to this place where we then just start to think that we always need to be busy. And then we keep ourselves busy. So it's like, I bet sometimes, Jill, I don't know about you, I do this for myself, but sometimes it's like I have a break in my schedule and I almost look for things to fill it because it doesn't feel comfortable to just have space.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I'm always on the go. And then when I'm not on the go, I feel like I'm missing out on something or why it feels weird not to be doing nothing. I complain when I'm doing so much. The moment I have that free time, I'm feeling like it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, like what can I put in this time that that I have as downtime, right? And I think that a lot of times there's a part of us deep down that's afraid of what we'll find if we slow down. What we're almost like we're so conditioned to the noise that we're afraid of the silence. We're afraid of just being with ourselves, right? And so, a lot of people, they'll find themselves just scrolling on social media or, turning on the TV just so that there's noise around. Like, why is it that we're so uncomfortable with silence and doing nothing? Like, I think it has a lot to do with things that we were conditioned to believe about productivity and what, how we're valued. I think we talked in a past episode about how a lot of times people will say things like, they'll say things about like, oh, well, I needed, hold on, I lost my train of thought.
Mom brain.
Yeah.
We needed.
I think I'm going to move on because I forgot
Perfect.
what I was. I just think that we have this idea that packing our schedule or filling it with more things is a sign of productivity. But I think it's actually proof that we're avoiding the one thing that matters, which is ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It's like me talking about, how I had this whole wedding planning weekend.
Yes, you said.
And I didn't even put in any time for
bathroom break.
Bathroom breaks. Why don't we fit ourselves into our schedule? Somehow we have time for everybody else and everything else, but we don't put time for ourselves. And then when we do have time for ourselves, it feels uncomfortable.
It does.
We don't want it. We try to look for something to fill the time with.
Yeah. Well, how do we break that pattern? What are the things we should be doing then?
Well, I think that before we get into breaking the pattern, I think we need to see what it's really costing us because there's a hidden cost to the packed calendar. I think that we don't realize that like because we're committing to everything else, because we're saying yes to everybody else, we're actually saying no to ourselves. And what happens as a result is that because we're so busy checking boxes for everyone else, we forget to check in with ourselves. And when that happens, our body's going to do it for us, and it's going to do it with a vengeance. So our body has a way of forcing us to make time for ourselves when we refuse to. And it's called burnout. And I'll tell you, it is not pretty.
Yes. It's so true. Uh-huh. Oh my gosh. Well, you're here as a mom. You've done this yourself. Obviously, I think we've all done it. And it's something that we really, I never sat down and looked at it this way. I got to change that pattern. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our body will force us to take a break, right? And then it's so funny. You see people when they get sick, right? I just think it's so funny that you see people when they get sick, they're forced to take time to rest, to do nothing, right? It's like all that time that we tried to pack everything in, it really ends up just being borrowed time. It's not time that we actually are getting more out of. We're just going to end up having to take rest that's forced on the back end. And then when we take that time that's rest that's forced upon us, how many times is it that we feel anxious to get started again, or think that we have to catch up, that we somehow got pulled back, instead of realizing, like, rest is truly productive. I remember the first time I realized how productive rest was. I was working with a personal trainer. And, I had this desire, right? I was lifting weights and I was like, okay, I'm going to just lift them, do a set, and then I'm going to like go right into the next set. Right. And he was like, no, you need to take a break. Right. But before he let me take a break, right, he kept telling me like, okay, you need to take a break after every set. But I didn't want to. Right. So one time he let me, and I'll take a break. Right. So I did one set of bicep curls. And then he's like, okay, the set's done. And he saw me go right into the next set. And what I noticed was that by going right into the next set, I thought I was being more productive, right? I thought that I was getting more done in less time. My body fatigued faster. And so my form started to get affected, where I wasn't doing my bicep curls properly. And I was actually able to do fewer. And so he stopped, right? After I did the set, he stopped and he allowed me to reflect. He was like, how was that set? Where after I didn't take the break. And I was like, it was harder. And I noticed, my form was kind of compromised and things like that. And he was like, yeah. And I realized he pointed out to me, he's like, what happens when now let's stop and let's actually take a rest right now. Let's just take a minute and we're going to see how your body reacts, how that set differs from the set where you didn't take a break. And so I took a break. I did the next set, just 60 seconds, right? Just a 60-second break. Did the next set and found that I had the strength again to do the bicep curls with proper form. And I was actually able to do more. And it completely blew my mind, because here I was thinking that if I just did more in less time, that was going to be better. And what he was showing me was, no, you actually need that rest to recover from the fatigue so that you can be performing at 100%. Because when we don't take that break for ourselves, what actually happens is it impacts our form. So even though we know that we can perform at this level, by not taking a break, we're actually putting ourselves down to 70% inherently. And not only that, we're actually making it so we can't do as much as we normally could have done if we take rest. And if you think about it, it's like when we have a really stressful schedule, right? And then you're up in the middle of the night, you're thinking about all the things that you have to do the next day. Are you performing at your peak after staying up all night, thinking about all the things that you have to do that need to get done perfectly?
Not at all.
Yeah, right. And so I think for me, this realization of the importance of rest, the importance of space to just recover was so important. And now, so I mentioned, right, like there was a version of me like over 10, almost 15 years ago, who was a person who planned everything to the 15-minute. And now I'm like, okay, we have one, like if I go on vacation with, I had a family in town one time, we went to Maui, and just like, they wanted me to plan the schedule, and I did. And instead of it being like, okay, we're going to this waterfall, then this waterfall, then this waterfall, then we're going to go ahead and have shaved ice, and we're going to do this. It was like, okay, we're going to do one thing this day, and then the next day we're going to just relax. We're going to do nothing. There's nothing. And many of my family, right, they all came from big cities. I grew up, born and raised in New York City. They were like, oh, but like, what about, why don't we do this day? Why don't we do that? So I was like, no, trust me. we're going to take a break in between each day just to enjoy. Because really what I've learned here also in Hawaii is it's so much about just being in the moment. It's about being in the place that you're in and not just thinking that you need to fill your entire calendar with go here, go here, go here, do this, do that. There's something about just being in the place and feeling it. And so a lot of times when people come here to Hawaii and they want to do a bajillion things, like I force breaks into the time, because if they really want to experience Hawaii, if you really want to experience yourself, it's about creating space for that to happen. It's not about planning every single second and not creating any time for something organic to happen. Because those organic moments, that's when the real magic happens. That's when we really experience life. That's when people really get a chance when they're here on vacation to see what Hawaii is about. It's not about having something scheduled for every morning and night and afternoon. It's about just being in the culture, about stopping and looking at the flowers or taking a moment to breathe in the air. And here, yes, in Hawaii, it's nice ocean breeze air. But even just wherever you are, to take a breath, like take a breath right now.
Reminds me of my trip to Disney 3 years ago. I had a whole trip to Disney planned with my 2 kids, my sister's 2 kids, her husband and her. And never didn't know until I did this. Well, we get down there and I have every day's back to back, this park, that park, Disney, oh, then Universal. There was not one day of break. And then on top of it all, we all came down with COVID like 3 days in. So now I'm like, this is during the time where, well, COVID was already back, I guess. It was coming back. But everyone still had it, and it is what it is. I'm like, I'm not going to not go to Disney now because I have COVID. I'm like, we're not wearing masks anymore. It's not like that's serious. I mean, whatever. So we still continued as sick as we were to every park. And we came home and we felt like, wow, it was just so exhausting. Not one day at the pool. It was horrible.
Yeah, right. And then you pick a hotel with a beautiful pool with all with all these things, and you don't even get to enjoy it. And yeah, so many times I've seen myself, like I notice too now when my body sends sickness my way, right? Like I think we've talked about it in the past, but a lot of times stress weakens our immune system. Because we're in fight or flight, our body is more focused, it sends all this additional energy to our muscles, to our heart. And that increases our focus temporarily, but what it does long term is it shuts down our immune system. And when our immune system isn't performing at its peak, we're more likely to get sick in the midst of that. So for me, like when I notice now that my immune system is giving me those small signals, like, oh, I got a little tickle in my throat, or I notice my nose is a little stuffier, I use those now as indications of, oh, I need a break. And what I find is that when I use those indicators as, oh, I need a little break right now, that actually means that I'm less likely to get sick in the long term. And that, again, when we're doing this thing of overpacking our schedule and then forcing our body to stop us by getting us sick, whether it's chronic illness, autoimmune, or just COVID, what happens is then when we have that sickness, it's like we think, oh gosh, now I have to make up for this lost time, when it really was your body reclaiming the time that it needed in the first place. And if you gave it to it, you wouldn't have been so fatigued and tired and sick. So now, I just think it's so important to like build in the breaks, to build in space for yourself, like, to not force yourself to go from one activity to another, and to really begin to unpack that feeling of like, why am I not comfortable with silence? Why am I not comfortable with nothing on my schedule? Why do I try to fill all my time? Why do I need to be doing something all the time? We're not human doings. We're human beings. And I think about this, I have a little daughter. She's almost 18 months. She doesn't need to have a packed schedule to have had a great day or to be worthy of love, of recognition, of anything. She just has to be. How come I can't just be?
We are like 3 adults. We have the weight on our shoulders. We have the burden of the finances. But I feel like I'm living my life in this like rat race, and I don't like it. I'm not enjoying it much. Looking back, that's like one of the things I feel like I'm going to regret. It's never really stopping to smell the roses. Look at those beautiful flowers there in, Hawaii, and like the ocean, and just relax. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's so much more than not, yes, I do have beautiful surroundings around me, but I think sometimes it's even just about like realizing that, you have this moment to laugh with your kids or to spend time with friends. Like, it doesn't have to be these grandiose things. Like, life is made up of these little moments. Like, on our deathbed, we're not going to care if we were able to fit 5 things into our, 10 things into our schedule, or if we had everything planned out to the minute. What we're really going to care about is that time that we laughed with a friend, or that time that, somebody was there for us when we needed, or that moment that we just, were with our partner and shared a moment like that. That's what we're going to think about when life is over.
Those are the real, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like we've traded time for moments.
Yeah, it's true. And we got to stop thinking that way. We got to switch it around and reverse it. I know we had a little shorter show than normal, but we'll have another show again soon. What else did you want to share with our listeners before we have to go? Gosh, it's already time. Sorry, but don't worry. We're going to do a whole nother show to make up for this one. But in the meantime, how did you want to end off?
I think that the most important thing is not just to realize that it's about our schedule. It's really about what's causing these thoughts and these habits for us ourselves. And in my masterclass, Your Chronic Stress Breakthrough, which you can find on my website, www.savorlifewithdiana, that's SAVOR Life with Diana, you'll find a free masterclass. It's under 30 minutes, and it's life-changing to realize how many of the issues that you may be having might be related to this pattern of stress addiction, and how many of the ways that you can actually begin to break that so that you can feel more peace. Literally, just from watching that, you're going to feel a release. You're going to feel more relaxed. You're going to feel more in control, and you're going to be taking steps towards that breakthrough.
Perfect. Thank you again. How do we contact you? Tell us the website.
Yes, Savor Life with Diana, SAVOR Life with Diana, or you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok at Savor Life with Diana.
Thank you so much. Enjoy. Good luck. Can't wait to hear about with the networking event next week, okay? Thanks, you.
Jill.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.